like I was just always the person to be big on. I want to be the master of my time. Even if sometimes it mean that I might have earned a little less early on until I was able to master the skill, to earn more later. I was that person. Like, all right, I'll take the sacrifice now, just so later on, I can have more determination of my schedule and the way I'm going to live my life.
New York, D-Town, LA, NO, Florida, Mississippi, KC, MO, Show 'em what you stand for. Show 'em what you stand for. Show 'em what you stand for. Chi-Town, Tennessee, Carolinas, Alabama, Oakland, St. Louis, Detroit, Atlanta. Show 'em what you stand for.
What up, everybody? Once again, it's the KCMO podcast. Your boy Lil J here. Unfortunately, we don't have my co-host Frank the Tank. He is missing in action. Actually had an emergency he had to attend to last minute, so we're praying for him. Everything works out, but the show must go on. We're starting off our next season here, so we have some interesting people we want to talk to. Actually, we met this young man at Investfest in Atlanta a few weeks ago. I wanted to have him on the show to talk about what he's doing. So, with no further ado, welcome, Mr. Keith Jones. How are you doing, sir?
Sir, thank you. I appreciate you guys for having me on. And sorry to hear about your partner, man. Definitely let him know that he's in our prayers. I was strongly looking forward to seeing him, but I know that he's here in spirit with you, man, to keep you, make this a best experience. So
yeah,
let's get rolling.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Like I said, we had met at Investfest, we met in Atlanta, and that was my first time going. Won't be my last, for sure. Won't be my last, because I definitely enjoyed myself the whole time. It was just, I was trying to explain to a friend of mine, I said, it's just a vibe, Right. The whole scene is just a vibe, from the vendors market to the speakers to just being around people who are trying to do something,
Right.
They're moving forward. They're trying to work a business, work connections. They're just doing something. So it was just a dope experience for me. So I know we met each other on Sunday. And you said you missed the early part of the weekend, but for you, how was it? How was the whole experience for you?
Man, it was dope. It was dope, because I'm actually, ironically, I'm one of the type of people that do not like go out and just be in large crowds. So to just be in a large crowd and everyone is there for the same purpose, which is to elevate themselves, not just financially, because people hear the title Investfest and most people just think like economics or just finance.
Right.
But if you thought like they had everybody there to cover on just about every topic that got to do with, one person's well-being. So for me, the biggest takeaway was just knowing that I could speak to anybody in that building and they all had something good to say, so it left me with a lot of takeaways. I still have some resources that I met there that I've yet to, put into context, just taking everything one step at a time and getting back out to everyone, as best fit, as is best needed. Yeah. And just walking past, man, you can just feel the vibe on everyone and just knowing like for whatever that you came for, that you was definitely going, get that out of it. And one of the reasons that I did go, of course, was to network, to make more people aware of just so many different things that you can be out here doing professionally. Because of course, before attending like an event like Investfest, most people in our culture, can be a little narrow-minded in sense of all of the different things that's available, professionally for us as a culture. And just to be in a space like that and see so many people doing so many different things, just left you with a sense of enlightenment.
No, it's definitely a dope, like I said, experience. And like you said, seeing other people with other opportunities, whether it's business, whether it's just making connections, possible associate, new friends, whatever, because we can get pigeonholed in our own little environment and miss out what's going around the world because we don't know, right? So I love what EYL is doing. The whole movement is exposure, right? It's exposing our culture to something that we hadn't been exposed to in the past. You know, I'm telling my parents, I went to Investfest. I said, Investfest, what is that? You know, you go into investments? I'm like, you know, that's not the whole core of it. You know, I'm going there to learn. I'm going there to network, maybe make some connections. I might find a new business partner somewhere. You know, I might learn something about something I never thought about doing. You know, which I did.
Right.
You know? So no, to me, like I said, won't be my last. I'm definitely going back again and look forward to the next one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I and then just to piggyback off of that, you know, it's like when I left, I just left with this big moment of like, aha, you know, like most of my life, of course, like I told you, I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. So it's like a small city, but you can get back and forth across the city in like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
But we so compacted and so congested in the city. There's so many people within a small city. A lot of times you walking past people, you don't know who's who. Yeah. You know, so kind of be on the fence a little bit. But like I said, go to an event like Investfest and just to know that everyone is there, is on the same page.
Yeah.
You know, give you that other level of you know, of conviction. Yeah. You know, to know that you there and everybody there for the right purpose.
Yeah, it's like all on one accord, you know.
Right.
To use that term, everybody, you know, ain't no BS going on. Like I was listening to a recap with I think it's Rashad, and he was talking about, you know, to have 20,000 people in one space, you had violence break out, you know, no issues like that. That right there is like an achievement.
Right.
And I'm gonna say that to have that many Black folks in one spot at one time,
that's
very challenging.
Yeah.
You know, I've been to many concerts. Right. I've been running out that joke because somebody was fighting. You know, so
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So let me tell you. So last year, my wife and I attended together. Okay. And they had Tyler Perry there. And when they opened the doors, I mean, people was like, man, you would have thought like an emergency
running
broke out. Yeah, to get in there, I mean, everybody stepping on each other and everything. Like the shoes that I wore, you know, they were some good. They were some good shoes.
They got scuffed up, didn't they? They got scuffed up.
I scuffed, but for me, when I left with them, it was like they was trophy shoes. You know what I'm saying? Because like I wasn't the only one, and yet nobody turned around to have any kind of arguments or, you know, to be rah-rah. You know, it was just, hey, brother, I'm sorry, but, you know, I'm just trying to get to what you're getting to, if you can understand. Yeah. And it was all kosher.
Yeah,
you know?
It's all love. That's what it was. It's all love, you know, and that's why I love it so much. You know, it was all love. But I want to get into your thing, man. I know you gave me a card. I know you have a logistics business, right?
Exactly.
Eyeconic Logistics. So first of all, the name. Yes. Where did the name come from? Eyeconic.
So originally the name started from back in 2016. I was going through a deep state of depression because I'd actually lost a business that I've owned and operated for about 5 years, from like 2010, right around the time my stepdad passed away. Okay. He was selling, and I took over for what he was doing, but actually like legitimized, because back when we was doing it together, it was just a hustle. Okay. And that, you know, with being left behind, all of the bills and everything, you know, Mom Duke, she was trying to hold down a mortgage. I knew it was time for me to step up. I was about 21 years old at that time. But I'd owned and operated that sales business for about 5 years. And I felt like I pretty much just gave my whole life to the business. So when the business fell down, I felt like my life had fell right down with it. And regardless of the fact of how many people that was there to tell me, like, Keith, you know, it's still other things that you can do besides what you're doing. You can still do what you're doing, but maybe network differently, find other people that can help you. Yeah. But I was the kind of attitude that my stepfather had instilled within me, you know, such as, you know, like, hey, you don't need nobody for nothing. You can do this, you can do that, right? But I realized that that only got me but so far, you know, and it got me as far as I could go, you know, because like I say, when I went through that year or almost 2 years of depression, I mean, I pretty much gave up on everything, including my marriage. You know, I stepped out on my marriage for about a year, you know, by the grace of God, you know, we back together and better than ever, right? But what happened is that when I was getting myself back together, I started detailing, and I found like a strong peace of mind within detailing. And the first person who asked me what was the name of my detailing business, I said Eyeconic Details. And they said the same thing you say. They said, well, where'd you get the name from? But like it at time, and it just came straight out of the heart, you know, because I just thought about like the eye. And I'm like, okay, you know, like this go around, me coming out of this depression, you know, me getting back on my feet, making myself greater. I'm going forward with a higher sense of trust and force, you know, rather than just like being really worldly and thinking that it's just me. I'm having a stronger focus about how Keith Jones is going to better benefit the world through everything that he does, right?
Okay.
So I didn't want to have it as ICONIC, right? Because you know, in a spiritual sense, that was like, all right, I didn't want it to be about an idol. You know, I wanted something where as though when somebody seen the way that it was spelled, it would grab their attention. You know, because a lot of places where I would go to do my business, you know, people get caught up in presentation. They see your image when you in certain places, and it's easy for people to pass up on. You know, but when they read and they see the name that the way that it was spelled, it would kind of make people want to ask a question. And for me, that was a conversational starter.
Yeah,
You know,
it is. So let me ask you this though, because you mentioned spirituality and you mentioned,
right.
you know, the depression. So what was the turning point, or what was the moment that turned it for you and brought you out of that depression state?
Well, what it was that I say that see, because the turning point wasn't like no one day event. It was just day in and day out. I was just being tired of being tired, you know. And it's like, and it wasn't tired in the sense of like I didn't feel like doing nothing. It was just tired of in the sense of ways though I felt like I wasn't giving value. And it got, you know, and it like and it just got to that point where as though I was like, you know what, my mother, she was always in my ear. That's how I got down to Georgia, by the way.
Okay.
You know, living down here, and you know, I took a flight with her to come down here, and that was, I can say that that was probably one of the turning points when I really seen how people knew me for who I introduced them as, you know what I'm saying, versus who I was from a child up to, you know, those early 20s. This was like fresh start for me to reintroduce myself, like Hov say, you know, allow me to reintroduce myself. You know, so when I seen that, I was like, damn, you know what? I can kind of play around with this back where I'm from. Let me just start getting out of the hood. You know, let me just start going over into other areas. And when I really started to see how people like was really vibing with the way that I was doing business, you know, it began to allow me to think like, all right, you know what? I don't have to do business the way that I was just doing before. I can do it like this, and I can do it better. And the more that I was able to start doing for myself, I started feeling more confident to reintroduce myself back to the merch that I left. You know, because at the time we had 2 children. You know, and my thing is I didn't want to half step it. You know, I wanted to make sure that like when I came back, that I was back, and I was back for life. And the good thing is that I'm not gonna be one of the ones to say I didn't have nobody. Cause for that whole time I had people that was in my ear telling me, Keith, do this, do that, do this, do that. But I wasn't ready, you know. So like I say, day by day, I got tired. It got to that point. I was 100% dissatisfied, knew that I was ready to, you know, to thrust forward much further than I was held back.
Okay. And we know how mamas are, because I got one too. And I had some times where I was struggling, and she always, baby, you can come back home. You know, you can always come back home. And being a man, like, I know, mama, but I'm gonna make it through. But sometimes, you know, you might take a step back. Mom said, come
Right.
back home. You come on home and, some things kind of turn around for you. So I know full well
Exactly.
on how that can be, So
Right.
I'm glad you came through that. I'm glad
Yeah. And
it made you
and
better.
if I could just piggyback off of that, because to get to the root of your question, sorry for being so long-winded, but it was just a full, it was just a full rotation of how I got up to this, which you see, dispatch and logistics, because from the detailing, I started to actually get back into the auto sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then came 2019, the pandemic. They shut down the state of Maryland,
Yep.
and had us on curfew. And at that time, we were 100% dependent on sales and details,
Okay.
and that just wasn't enough to hold through with the lifestyle that I had built back up. So, what happened was that I'd already had a pickup truck and a utility trailer that I was using to haul my own vehicles that I would buy from the auctions.
Okay.
And a lot of companies were shutting down. I would have dealers that would ask us like, "Hey, how much would you charge? How much would you charge to haul out cars?" And I was just throwing prices off the top of my head, to be honest. And to see that they were accepting them, let me know that that was another outlet, that we could actually get into. So that's how that part took off, during the pandemic back in 2019, and still here to this day, we offering auto transport services nationwide, as well as auto sales.
So how long have you had your business? The
Uh,
logistics.
so, so the courier and the broker authority, we've had that for 3 years.
Okay.
Instead of my like my sales license to sell cars, I've been holding on to that and renewing that, ever since 2011. Just been in and out of different states. You
Okay.
know, yeah,
Okay. So I know we were talking about when I met you, talking about the dispatching piece, right? So
right.
do you still drive trucks, or are you just strictly on dispatching and
So as of believe it or not, I guess you can call it the Investfest. So yeah, so like as of like 2 weeks ago, when I left the Investfest or whatever specific date that was the last weekend that I actually sat behind the driver's seat. Before I decided to say, okay, you know what, it's now time to 100% focus on the dispatch, the brokering, and not just that, but the consulting and the training for new entrants, because that right there was the bigger focus. The 3 years that I actually sat behind the wheels, for me, it was much like that, like gathering data, gathering data,
yeah,
to be able to better help people that was getting into the business. Because a lot of people think that, you get into the trucking business, the only thing you need is a truck and a trailer. And they leave all of the communications behind, they leave all of the business ethics behind. And then, many of them wonder, for the ones that can't figure it out, in sense of loads, figuring out how to get the best paying loads and things of that nature. That's the part that I really, seeking to help out with going forward. And that's, the major reason why I decided to take a step back behind the wheel, from behind the wheel, in addition to having more home time with the family.
yeah, I can appreciate that. So do you still have trucks, or are you just full time just
Right.
dispatching brokering for other
Right.
drivers?
Right. So right now we're down to one truck and trailer, which even that is up for sale. I mean, we pretty much like cracked the code in sense of not even needing the truck to be just as effective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I heard that some other people there at Investfest. So
Mhm.
so I had thought about, I'm still thinking about it,
Right.
in the trucking maybe a year ago. But see, my mindset was, again, let me get me a truck, right? Let me
Hmm.
get me
Exactly.
a sprinter van or a
Right.
box truck or something like that. But
Hmm.
I don't want to drive. I don't want
Right.
to go on the road and drive it. So I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I need me a truck. I need a driver. I need the insurance. I need all this stuff, right? I need to get with a company to do the loads. But then I met you, I met somebody else, and they was talking about, no, you just get dispatching. You ain't got to own
Exactly.
a truck. You just
Right.
you just broker loads and negotiate the
Yep.
deal. Just be like
Exactly.
at your desk at home. I was like,
Right.
hmm,
See,
okay.
the way that I look at it is almost like how, for someone who's in real estate, to say, hey, I'm ready to be a real estate investor. Now I got to learn how to do plumbing. I got to learn to do electrician. Like, no, you focus on the one object, right?
Yeah.
And then you just find you just outsource for like everything else. You know, so like I said, we know plenty more drivers that's looking for loads than than the trucks that we had.
Okay.
You know, so in actuality, it cost us more to run our trucks than what it did to, you know, to actually utilize our current customer base and the ones who we looking forward to picking up, and just say, hey, you know, we got reliable drivers. And the good thing about it is that the drivers that we select, like, they know that we got a no nonsense style of approach.
Yeah.
And we have, you know, certain values that we go along on a day-to-day basis. You know, that way when they fulfill those values, their benefit is that they, you know, they're getting more money. And I'm the kind of guy that, you know, like when drivers do good, like, I'll tip them, like, in every way that we can. We tip them to let them know that they appreciate it, you know, because like I said, I've been out there for those 3 years, so
Yeah.
I know everything there's to go through being out there, and you know,
Okay.
I know to be an underappreciated driver.
Yeah. So give me the game real quick. So
Right.
so you find the loads, right?
Mhm.
And you have a network of drivers that you utilize. Now I know the
Is that
drivers get paid by the mile, right? They get so
right?
much per mile, you know, the
Mhm.
load, drop off, pick up. So
Right.
then if you find the load, find the driver, make the connection, then what do? Take a percentage off the load?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
We take a percentage out the load. See, the good thing, see, for us, and mind you, I'm speaking specifically of auto transport, not
Okay.
necessarily
Not
general.
not not Walmart, not Target.
Right.
You talking about just transporting vehicles. So
Exactly.
you picking up from a distributor or somewhere and taking to a car dealership or vice versa, or
Yeah.
dealer to dealer. I got you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in some cases, you know, we able to eat on both different ways, and then not only just, you know, eat on both different ways, but in a way where as though it's still ethical. You know, whereas though the dealers don't feel like they being ripped off, the carriers, you know, the drivers don't feel like they being ripped off. We do our best to negotiate prices, whereas though everybody got a happy medium, and we safe to say that we're one of the ones that like we're not intact with greed at all. You know,
Yeah.
like we more volume based. Like, all right, if we give a good price, but then make sure that that dealer is doing what they got to do to sell enough cars so they can buy more cars, then
Okay.
we know we're gonna make up on volume. You know, so we're able to negotiate prices with the dealer, get a cut off of that. Then we find the drivers that need loads, get a cut off of them, and we just meshing them both together. You know, we have them use the app that we use, which is Super Dispatch. A lot of times, you know, people see me with this shirt at least 4 or 5 days a week. You know, I'm just helping to get that name out there to familiarize people with, like, hey, this is what we utilize. You
Right.
know, the day to day drivers, you know, and getting the work done.
Okay. So I hear you keep saying we. So tell me about it. You got a team that's doing all this, or who's who?
So when I'm more mind you, I speak a lot in third person more so because it's bigger than me, of course, right? Like,
Okay.
most of the back office stuff is definitely my wife, Holly Jones.
Okay.
You
Shout out to
know,
Holly Jones.
yeah.
Shout
So
out.
so from day one, like when we started off as a courier, that's how I got into the dispatching side, because once my name sort of got out there, I was starting to receive more work than I could actually take on myself. And after showing my wife how to do the dispatching part, you know, we agreed together for her to actually start a different company for the broker authority.
Okay.
You know, so that's how we was able to still keep the same customer base, but then grow them. So whatever work that I couldn't do, she could be able to actually just dispatch them over to other drivers, you know, through the brokerage.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And you say you also do. So you're also what, teaching and consulting as well? Is that what you
Right. For that part right there, I'm actually still receiving coaching to be able to start giving the coaching.
said? Yeah.
Does that make sense? You know,
Got
because
you.
I
I
be
got
like, I can be like really raw in sense of like when I'm communicating to the people who
you. The
need the
delivery
info.
can be a little rough. Are you saying?
Right. You know, so I'm actually working on and taking up, you know, some coaching classes, and you know, for anybody who's been having advice and sense of like strengthen, my communications professionally to step out there, beyond, the crowd that I'm used to.
Okay.
Because we've been, from all different type of ethnicities that been coming in. Sometimes I find myself using certain lingo that they might not catch on. I'm like, all right, you know what?
Right. Yeah, you gotta switch up a little bit, just a little bit, so that we can cross over. But I get you. So it sounds like you've been like a lifelong entrepreneur, basically.
It's safe to say more so, honestly, by default.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up, I I grew up in a household with like 9 people, and only one of them had a 9 to 5 job.
Okay.
Which was my grandmother.
Okay.
And she did night. So like during the day hours, I never really got to see nobody. Just like leave far away from home to make meet.
Okay.
And had their own different hustles. Some legitimate, others whatever. But
you know how it goes.
Right. So from early on, it's like I never really had a interest for a 9 to 5. Like, to be honest, like I was just always the person to be big on. I want to be the master of my time. Even if sometimes it mean that I might have earned a little less early on until I was able to master the skill. To earn more later. I was that person. Like, all right, I'll take the sacrifice now, just so later on, I can have more determination of my schedule and the way I'm going to live my life.
Yeah, no, I can respect that. I can respect that totally. And we were talking before we got on here about your daughter. Even your daughter now is a young entrepreneur, right?
Exactly. Yep. Corey Jones. Shout out to her. Yeah. So Corey Jones, she's the owner of Panda Rolls LLC. She actually sells roll up ice cream and ice cones. Right now, we're doing like all of the community events.
Yeah.
And it say that it actually worked out pretty well, so much to the point that it's like, was it worth it getting a brick and mortar store? We didn't think so. Especially for her at such a young age, with her doing the events. That's another thing. We have the control to be able to say, okay, if it's overwhelming for her, let's scale back. Or if she
what do you have,
more,
like a little push freezer or a little truck that you just take from spot to spot?
Yeah. So we have we have a push freezer, and we have a couple of carts that we actually lug around, to different events when they doing a community small business events or the African American culture events. It's been many different events that they've been having, all throughout the Atlanta region.
Well, you're in the right place, man. I mean, you're in the right place for
most definitely.
Building businesses, networking, and thriving.
Right.
So yeah, that's
dope. That was another reason, as to say why we took the move, to go from Baltimore down to here. It's not to say that we couldn't have made it, because we were doing well up there just as well as we doing, down here as far as professional.
Yeah.
But of like maintaining and building and establishing personal relationships, and just having a sense of community. That down here was where it was at. This probably I would like to say one of the best decisions that we've made, in our adult life.
Yeah. No, I have a buddy that lives down there in I think it's Fayetteville. And and he loves it.
The cars down there sometimes.
Yeah, he loves
it.
So let me give you this opportunity, Keith, to tell the folks that they can reach you if they want to reach out to Eyeconic Logistics. How can they find you?
Okay, good. So they can reach us on. I have 3 different pages on Instagram. One is Keith Got Cars. So you just hit that sign, Keith Got Cars. I've been specifically using that page to dedicate to our used car sales. Personally, you can be able to follow me on Instagram at Eyeconic Jones 88. The way that we spell Eyeconic is EYECONIC JONES 88. That's where you get like the full transparency of who I am personally. I'm big on values, And my top 5 values that, you know, how I live my life in accordance is family, friends, faith, finance, and fitness. So on that page, that's all you're going to see.
Okay.
You know, so for anyone who, you know, who are looking to catch a moment of inspiration or motivation, that's definitely the page that you want to be tapped into. You know, you'll see sometimes I'm either solo or, you know, with my family, you know, just engaging in those 5 values. The other page, Car Haulers Connect, that's going to be the page that we're going to be dedicating specifically just for the auto transport and to get coaching, you know, out to anyone who's interested in learning how to become an auto transporter.
Okay.
Our website, ecabroker.com. That's where you want to go to if you want to book your auto transport load. Next time you coming in town, brother, you want to get your car transported up, ecabroker.com. You go right on.
I had to look you up. I usually fly in and Uber my way around, but but I'll look you up, and definitely I'm going to drop all those links in the show notes of the pod, so people will be able to hit the link and, you know, get to you how they need to. So I'll get with you on email afterwards and get all the links from you.
Yes, sir.
Links, and then I can post those into the show notes. So, like I said, when I met you, I knew I had to have you on here to talk about this. We can chop it up, talk about what you got going on, talk about Investfest. Right. Usually my co-host closes us out, but he ain't here. So, in honor of Big Frank the Tank, I say Keith Jones. This is Lil J. You know what it is. Let's move on, y'all.
Peace.
D-Town, LA, NO, Florida, Mississippi, KC, MO, Show 'em what you stand for. Show 'em what you stand for. Show 'em what you stand for. Chi-Town, Tennessee, Carolinas, Alabama, Oakland, St. Louis, Detroit, Atlanta. Show 'em what you stand for.